Listen carefully, because this is not just another video you randomly found while scrolling through your day. This is a moment that was aligned for you long before you even pressed play, long before you were consciously aware that something inside you was searching for answers. Today, May 18th, is not just another date passing by on the calendar. It is a doorway, a threshold, a divine interruption in the timeline you thought you were bound to follow. And if you feel something stirring inside you right now, something subtle but undeniable, a quiet pull, a tension in your chest, a whisper you cannot quite explain, that is not coincidence. That is activation. And before we go deeper, understand this. When the universe begins to shift your reality, it also places tools, guidance, and knowledge directly in your path to help you hold what is coming. That is why this moment is not just about listening, it is about preparation. Right now, I want to draw your attention to something powerful that has just been released. An audiobook titled WS. Train Your Mind for Wealth, Opportunity, and Abundance. This is not just another audiobook. This is a recalibration tool for your mindset. A guide designed to align your thoughts with the very frequency you are stepping into right now. Because what is coming into your life next will require a mind that is ready to receive it, not resist it. If you have been feeling blocked, if you have been questioning why opportunities haven't fully opened yet, if you know deep down that you are meant for more, but something has been holding you back, this is where you begin to shift that internal pattern. This audiobook speaks directly to the part of you that must evolve in order to match the timeline that is now opening for you. You can find the link in the description and in the first pinned comment. If something inside you is telling you to check it out, do not ignore that signal. That is not impulse. That is alignment, guiding you toward what you need next. Now, before we go any deeper, take a moment right now to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and anchor yourself into this frequency, because what you are about to receive is not just information, it is a transmission. You did not come here for entertainment. You came here because something in your soul recognizes what is unfolding, even if your mind is still catching up. And what is unfolding in this very moment is the override. PGE. There are days when reality moves in predictable patterns, when everything unfolds in ways that feel familiar and expected. And then there are days like this, days where the unseen realms intervene, where the script you thought you were living by is suddenly rewritten without warning. Today is one of those days. The divine has issued an override. Not tomorrow, not someday, not when you feel ready, but now. The timeline you are on, tu couplia throat. 2. The one filled with delays, confusion, emotional weight, tu publia 7, missed opportunities, has been interrupted, fractured, and recalibrated at, to you, may not yet fully perceive. You may not see it immediately in your physical world, but energetically, everything has already shifted. And if you are honest with yourself, you have been feeling it building for some time now. The restlessness, the unease, the strange sense that something is about to break open. That feeling was not anxiety, no matter how much it tried to disguise itself as such. It was alignment, calling you toward this exact moment. You need to understand something that most people will never fully grasp in their lifetime. Something that separates this moment from everything else you have experienced. Not everyone is included in this activation. This is selective, intentional, precise. This message found you because you were marked for this moment long before you were aware of it, long before your struggles began shaping you, long before your doubts tried to convince you that you were lost or falling behind. Every challenge you faced, every night you spent questioning everything, every moment where you felt like nothing was moving forward, it was all part of the preparation you did not realize was happening. You have been walking through pressure, confusion, and emotional cycles, not because you were, but because you were being aligned for something greater. You were being prepared for a moment when the universe would no longer test you, but move for you. This is that moment. And deep down, beneath all the noise, beneath all the doubt, beneath all the distractions, you already know it. What you have been going through was never random, no matter how chaotic or senseless it may have seemed at the time. There has been a silent war surrounding your path, a resistance that you could feel, but could never quite name or fully understand. Doors closed without explanation. Opportunities slipped away just as they seemed within reach. People shifted unexpectedly, revealing sides of themselves that left you confused or hurt. It felt chaotic. It felt unfair, and at times it felt exhausting beyond words. But it was not meaningless. It was interference. Because when something powerful is destined to emerge, when something carries the potential to disrupt stagnation and break cycles, opposition always rises first. You were not being blocked because you were weak, poin, or unworthy. You were being resisted because you were dangerous to everything that thrives on keeping things the same. And now that resistance is being overridden in ways you are just beginning to witness, this is where everything changes. Whether you feel ready for it or not, the divine override is not subtle. It does not negotiate, and it does not wait for permission or perfect conditions. It intervenes. It steps into your reality and begins rearranging outcomes in ways that logic alone cannot explain. It accelerates what was delayed, removes what no longer belongs, and aligns what once felt completely out of reach. This is not about luck or chance, and it is not something that randomly happens without purpose. This is about authorization, something being granted at a level far beyond your conscious awareness. And today, that authorization has been deactivated. You may begin to notice things shifting quickly now. Conversations taking unexpected turns, opportunities appearing out of nowhere, old cycles breaking without the effort they once demanded. Do not question it. Do not slow it down with doubt or hesitation. This is what you have been asking for, even if you did not realize you were asking. There is a reason you feel different right now, even if you cannot fully articulate it or explain it to anyone else. Even if your outer world appears unchanged, something within you has already shifted in a way that cannot be reversed. There is a calm where there used to be anxiety, a clarity where there used to be confusion, a quiet certainty that something significant is unfolding just beneath the surface of your reality. That feeling is not imagination, it is a signal. Your spirit recognizes the shift long before your mind can catch up and put it into words. This is why you may feel disconnected from old thoughts, old fears, and even old versions of yourself that once felt so familiar. You are not losing yourself, and you are not becoming something foreign or unrecognizable. You are outgrowing a timeline that can no longer contain who you are becoming. Right now, in this exact moment, you are standing on a line that most people will go their entire lives without ever perceiving. On one side exists the old cycle, the patterns, the delays, the limitations that once defined your experience. On the other side lies the activated path, the one that has been waiting for you to recognize it. And the only thing required to cross this line is not effort, not struggle, not perfection, but awareness. The moment you truly see what is happening, the moment you recognize the shift for what it is, you align with it in a way that changes everything. And once you align with it, it begins to move through you, shaping your reality from within, rather than forcing you to chase it from the outside. This is not something coming to you from a distance. It is something awakening within you, something that has always been there, waiting for this exact moment to rise. What you are stepping into now does not move at the pace you are used to. This is not the slow unfolding podas that once tested your patience and stretched your endurance. This is acceleration, the kind that feels almost disorienting because it bypasses the logic your mind depends on. When divine realignment activates, it does not ask for your permission to proceed at a comfortable speed. It begins moving pieces, shifting energies, and collapsing delays in ways that can feel sudden, even overwhelming. You may notice situations resolving faster than expected, answers appearing just late without effort, or paths opening where there was once nothing but resistance. This is because you are no longer operating within the same timeline frequency. The delay has been removed, the waiting has expired, and what once took months or years to unfold can now begin to align in moments. This is not chaos. This is precision at a higher level than you have ever experienced before. As this acceleration begins, you must understand that not everything is meant to come with you into this new alignment. There will be things that fall away, sometimes quietly, sometimes abruptly, and not always with the closure you once thought you needed. People may drift out of your life without explanation. Situations may dissolve before you have time to process them. Opportunities you once held on to may suddenly lose their importance. This is not loss in the way you once defined it. This is clearing. What leaves now was never meant to stay in the version of your life that is unfolding. And if you try to hold on to it out of fear, out of habit, or out of attachment to what once felt safe, you will feel resistance again. Not because you are being punished, but because you are being redirected. Trust what is being removed, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels sudden. It is making space for something that aligns with who you are becoming, not who you once were. For a long time, you've been carrying something heavy, something that may not have always had a name, but has always been present. It has shown up as emotional exhaustion, as overthinking, as a constant sense that you had to push harder just to maintain balance. You learned to carry it because you thought you had no other choice. You adapted to it, even normalized it, convincing yourself that this was simply how life worked. But what you are beginning to feel now is that weightlifting, not because you suddenly became stronger, but because it is no longer yours to carry. The pressure that once defined your path is dissolving. The effort that once drained you is being replaced by flow. And while part of you may still expect the struggle to return, to reappear as it always has before, it will not hold the same power over you anymore, because you are no longer aligned with the version of reality that required you to suffer to grow. There was a time when fear spoke the loudest in your mind, when doubt could override your instincts. When uncertainty could silence your inner knowing. But something has shifted. Your intuition is rising, becoming clearer, stronger, more undeniable with each passing moment. You may notice that you are sensing things before they happen, that you are feeling guided in ways that do not require explanation. Decisions that once took hours of overthinking now feel obvious. Situations that once confused you now reveal their truth almost instantly. This is not coincidence. This is recalibration. Your inner voice is no longer competing with fear. It is surpassing it. And as this continues, you will find it harder to ignore what you know deep down, because that knowing is no longer subtle. It is direct. It is precise. It is guiding you exactly where you need to go, even if it does not always align with what feels comfortable in the moment. When the new begins to enter your life, it will not feel like the old patterns you are used to repeating. The doors that open now will feel different, not because they are unfamiliar, but because they carry a sense of ease that you may not trust at first. You have been conditioned to believe that anything meaningful requires struggle, that anything valuable must be earned through effort and endurance. But what is aligning with you now operates differently. It flows. It responds. It meets you where you are instead of forcing you to chase it. This may feel strange at first. You may question it, wondering if it is too easy, too smooth, too aligned to be real. But this is what happens when you are no longer forcing your way through resistance. You are receiving WD. WD. What is already meant for you. And the more you allow yourself to accept it without overanalyzing it, the more naturally it will integrate into your reality. For so long, it may have felt like time was something you were racing against, something that constantly reminded you of what had not happened yet, of what felt delayed or out of reach. You may have measured your progress against expectations, against TTT, timelines that never quite seemed to match your reality. But that relationship with time is changing. You are no longer being defined by how long something takes to manifest or unfold. Instead, you are stepping into a space where time begins to respond to alignment rather than pressure. Things happen when they are meant to, not when they are forced to. And as you begin to trust this, as you release the urgency that once drove you into stress and overthinking, you will notice something profound. What you thought was late begins to arrive at exactly the right moment. What you thought you missed begins to circle back in a new form. Because time was never working against you. It was waiting for this alignment. This is the part most people never fully believe until they experience it for themselves. You are entering what can only be described as a miracle window, a period where outcomes shift in ways that defy your past expectations, where things begin to align not because you forced them, but because you are finally in the right position to receive them. This does not mean everything will happen instantly or without movement on your part, but it does mean that the resistance that once slowed everything down has been removed. You are no longer pushing against closed doors. You are walking through open ones. And the more you trust this, the more you allow yourself to step forward without hesitation, the more you will see how real this shift truly is. This is not a fleeting moment. This is an opening, and what you choose to do within it will define everything that comes next. As you move deeper into this activation, there is something you must face with absolute clarity. The version of you that survived the past cannot fully exist in what is opening now. That version of you was built for endurance, for navigating uncertainty, for pushing through resistance and carrying weight that was never meant to be permanent. It learned how to adapt, how to protect, how to expect a struggle as a constant companion. But this new timeline does not require survival in the same way. It requires presence, alignment, and trust. And because of that, parts of your identity may begin to feel unfamiliar, even distant. You may notice that your reactions are changing, that the things that once triggered you no longer hold the same power, that the patterns you once repeated no longer feel natural. This is not loss of self. This is evolution. The old version of you cannot follow because it has already completed its purpose. And what remains now is something far more aligned with where you are going. In the past, every challenge you faced seemed to test your strength, your ability to endure, your willingness to keep going even when everything felt uncertain. But what you are stepping into now operates differently. This shift will not test how strong you are. It will test how deeply you trust, because things will begin to move in ways that do not always make logical sense. Opportunities may appear before you feel fully prepared. Changes may happen faster than you expected. You may be asked to step forward without having every answer in place, and in those moments, the instinct to control, to overthink, to slow things down may rise again. But this is where the real shift happens, not in forcing outcomes, but in allowing them, not in resisting the unknown, but in moving with it. The question is no longer, can you handle this? The question is, can you trust what is unfolding, even when you cannot fully see where it leads yet? There was a time when it felt like you had to chase everything, opportunities, clarity, validation, even a sense of peace. It felt like nothing came easily, like everything required effort, persistence, and constant movement just to stay within reach. But that dynamic is changing now in a way that may feel almost unfamiliar. What you once had chased will begin to find you, not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped forcing. Because you are no longer operating from lack, from urgency, from the belief that you must prove yourself in order to receive. Instead, you are aligning with what is already meant for you. And when that alignment is in place, things respond differently. You may notice people reaching out without you initiating, opportunities appearing without you searching, answers arriving without you overthinking. This is not coincidence. This is what happens when you shift from pursuit to attraction, from effort to alignment. As this new phase unfolds, you must be prepared for something that may feel both exciting and unsettling at the same time. The unexpected will become your new normal. The predictability you once relied on will begin to dissolve, replaced by moments that feel spontaneous, unplanned, yet perfectly aligned. You may find yourself in situations you did not anticipate, meeting people you did not expect, stepping into roles or opportunities that once felt out of reach. And while part of you may seek to understand every detail, to map out every outcome, that level of control will no longer be necessary. Because what is unfolding now is not meant to be predicted. It is meant to be experienced. The more you allow yourself to move with it, to trust the timing and the flow, the more natural it will feel. What once seemed uncertain will begin to feel guided. What once felt chaotic will reveal its order. And the unexpected will no longer feel like disruption, but like alignment in motion. You have already been receiving signs, subtle nudges, moments of clarity that appeared and disappeared before you could fully hold on to them. But as this activation deepens, those signals will become stronger, clearer, and impossible to ignore. You will begin to notice patterns, synchronicities, repeated messages that seem to follow you across different areas of your life. Conversations will echo thoughts you had not spoken out loud. Situations will mirror inner realizations you have just begun to understand. It will feel as if everything around you is speaking, guiding, pointing you in a direction that becomes harder and harder to deny. And this is intentional, because the path you are stepping into requires awareness. It requires presence. It requires you to see what is being shown to you without dismissing it as coincidence. The universe is not subtle when it needs your attention. And right now, it is making sure you cannot miss what is meant for you. As you continue to align internally, emotionally, your external environment will begin to reflect that shift in ways that may surprise you. The people around you may change, not always dramatically, but enough for you to notice the difference. Some connections will deepen, becoming more aligned and supportive. Others may fade, not out of conflict, but simply because they no longer resonate with where you are going. Your surroundings, your routines, even the way you move through your day, may begin to adjust without you forcing it. Things that once felt normal may no longer feel right. Spaces that once felt comfortable may begin to feel limiting. This is not instability. This is recalibration. Your outer world is responding to your inner shift, rearranging itself to match your new frequency. And while this may require you to release what feels familiar, it is also guiding you toward what feels aligned. Trust these changes. They are not random. They are reflective of who you are becoming. There may still be moments where you question what is happening, where the shifts feel so significant that you wonder if you are losing direction instead of finding it. But you need to understand this clearly. You are not being lost. You are being positioned. Every change, every movement, every unexpected turn is placing you exactly where you need to be for what is about to unfold next. Even the moments that feel uncertain are part of a larger alignment that you may not fully see yet. You are being guided into spaces, into opportunities, into connections that match your new path, not your old one. And while the process may not always feel linear or predictable, it is precise. Nothing, Maya, is being misplaced. Nothing is happening without purpose. You are not drifting, you are being directed. And the more you trust this, the more clearly you will begin to see how everything is coming together in ways that could not have happened any other way. Now you are approaching a phase that may feel intense, even overwhelming at times, because what was never truly aligned with you, its explosives, can no longer sustain itself in your presence. The structures, the attachments, the illusions that once held weight in your life are beginning to collapse, not as punishment, but as correction. You may witness things falling apart in ways that seem sudden, relationships revealing truths you cannot ignore, situations unraveling without warning. And while part of you may want to hold on to what feels familiar, you must recognize what is happening beneath the surface. This is not destruction for the sake of loss. This is the clearing of everything that was built on misalignment. What cannot exist in your new frequency will not be allowed to continue. And although this may feel uncomfortable, even painful in moments, it is creating space for something that is fully aligned. Something that does not require you to shrink, to compromise, or to question your place within it. As this clearing unfolds, you will come face to face with truths that you may have sensed before, but were not ready to fully accept. These truths will not arrive gently. They will arrive with clarity that cuts through illusion, through denial, through every layer of doubt that once kept you uncertain. You will see people for who they truly are, not who you hoped they would be. You will understand situations in a way that leaves no room for confusion. And most importantly, you will see yourself with a level of honesty that may feel both confronting and liberating at the same time. This is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to free you. Because once you see clearly, you can no longer remain in what does not align. And while this may require difficult decisions, it also removes the weight of uncertainty. You are no longer guessing. You are knowing. And that knowing everything changes everything. There was a time when you gave your energy freely, sometimes without realizing how much it was costing you. You invested in people who did not meet you halfway, in situations that drained you, in patterns that repeated themselves without resolution. But that version of you is no longer accessible. Your energy has shifted, and with it, your availability for anything that does not align with your growth has been removed. You may find yourself pulling back without effort, saying no without guilt, stepping away from dynamics that once felt impossible to leave. This is not indeed attachment in a negative sense. This is discernment. You are no longer trying to fix what is not yours to fix. You are no longer holding space for what refuses to evolve. And as you reclaim your energy, you create room for connections, opportunities, and experiences that match your level of awareness. This is not rejection of others. This is alignment with yourself. Before the full expansion of this new timeline becomes visible, there is often one final moment of release. One last opportunity to choose alignment over attachment. This may appear in a form that feels familiar, something from your past resurfacing, a pattern attempting to repeat itself, a situation asking for your attention once again. It may feel like a test, not because you are being judged, but because you are being given the chance to respond differently, to choose differently, to prove to yourself that you are no longer the version of you that once accepted less than you deserved. This moment is not here to pull you back. It is here to show you how far you have come, and the way you respond to it will determine how quickly you move forward. You are not being asked to fight it, to struggle against it, or to overthink it. You are simply being asked to recognize it for what it is, and to let it go without hesitation. This is the moment everything has been leading toward. The portal is no longer forming. It is fully open. The shift is no longer approaching. It is here. And you are standing at the center of it, whether you fully realize it or not. This is not a subtle transition. This is a complete energetic opening that allows you to step into a version of your life that once felt distant or uncertain. The opportunities, the clarity, the alignment you have been waiting for are no longer beyond your reach. They are within your field, responding to your presence, waiting for your movement. But this requires you to step forward, not with fear, not with hesitation, but with the understanding that this moment will not remain open indefinitely. CPTC. This is divine timing at its peak, and you are being invited to move with it. The door is open. The question is whether you will walk through it. This is where the message becomes undeniable. Your miracle timeline is not something that exists in the future. It is active now. It is unfolding in real time, shaping your experiences, aligning your path, and guiding you toward outcomes that once felt impossible. This does not mean everything will appear instantly or without effort, but it does mean that the foundation has shifted. The resistance that once slowed you down has been removed. The delays that once defined your progress have expired. And what remains is a path that responds to your alignment rather than your struggle. You are no longer waiting for things to happen. You are participating in their unfolding. And as you continue to move forward with trust, with awareness, with intention, you will begin to see how real this shift truly is. This is not imagination. This is activation. And it is happening now. Out of all the moments, all the possibilities, all the paths your life could have taken, you are here in this exact moment, receiving this message, experiencing this shift. And that is not random. You were never meant to miss this. Every delay, every challenge, every detour you experienced was part of aligning you with this exact point in time. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was accidental. Everything brought you here. And now that you are here, now that you are aware, now that you can feel what is unfolding, there is no going back to the version of yourself that once questioned, "I'd sick whether this was real." You know now. You feel it. And that awareness changes everything. This moment is yours. This activation is yours. And what comes next will be shaped by how fully you allow yourself to step into it. There is a version of you that you have sensed before, a version that felt distant at times, almost like a possibility rather than a reality. It is the version of you that does not chase, does not doubt every step, does not question whether things will work out. It is the version of you that receives, that allows, that stands in alignment without needing constant reassurance. That version is not separate from you. It is not something you have to become over time. It is here now, emerging through the shift that is unfolding within you. You may feel it in moments of stillness, in the calm that replaces overthinking, in the clarity that arises without effort. This is not a temporary state. This is integration. The more you recognize it, the more you trust it, the more it becomes your natural way of being. You are no longer becoming this version. You are remembering it. Very soon, if it has not begun already, you will start to see tangible confirmation of everything you are feeling right now. It may come in ways you do not expect, through situations that align too perfectly to dismiss, through opportunities that arrive at the exact moment you need them, through conversations that reflect what you have only recently realized within yourself. These confirmations are not meant to convince you. They are meant to reinforce what you already know, because deep down you do not need proof. You feel the shift. You recognize the change. But as these external signs begin to appear, they will ground this experience into your reality in a way that becomes undeniable. Pay attention. Stay present. Because what unfolds next will not feel random. It will feel precise, intentional, and deeply connected to everything you just moved through. For so long, it felt like you were moving against something unseen, like every step forward required effort that others did not seem to need. It felt like resistance was a constant presence, shaping your experience in ways that left you questioning why things could not simply flow. But that dynamic has changed. You are no longer moving against the current. Seat. You are moving with it. And when you move with the current, everything feels different. There is less force, less struggle, less need to constantly prove or push. Instead, there is movement that feels supported, guided, and natural. This does not mean there will be no challenges, but it does mean those challenges will no longer feel like obstacles meant to stop you. They will feel like adjustments. W1. W1. One pre-directions that guide you more precisely. You are no longer fighting your path. You are flowing with it. There were moments in your past where you allowed yourself to imagine something more, something beyond the limitations you were experiencing at the time. You saw glimpses of a life that felt aligned, fulfilling, expansive. But those visions may have felt distant, almost unrealistic, as if they belonged to a future you could not quite reach. What you are stepping into now is the alignment of those visions with your present reality. The life you once imagined is no longer something separate from you. It is something that is beginning to take form around you, piece by piece, moment by moment. And while it may not appear all at once, you will recognize it in the details, in the shifts, in the way things begin to come together. This is not coincidence. This is creation meeting alignment. This is the moment where what you once hoped for begins to become what you live. At this stage, there may still be moments where the past tries to call your attention, where old thoughts, old fears, or old attachments attempt to pull you back into familiar patterns. This is natural, but it is also a moment of choice. Because looking back now, holding on to what no longer aligns, will only slow the momentum you have stepped into. You are not meant to return to what you have already outgrown. You are not meant to revisit cycles that have already completed their purpose. The path forward requires your focus, your presence, your willingness to continue moving without hesitation. This does not mean you forget where you came from. It means you no longer live there. You honor the past by releasing it, by allowing it to remain where it belongs, while you step fully into what is unfolding now. This is not the time to hesitate. This is the time to move. This is where everything comes together. The activation you have been feeling, the shift that has been building, the alignment that has been unfolding, it is complete. Not in the sense that your journey is over, but in the sense that the doorway has fully opened and you are now standing within it. There is nothing more you need to wait for, nothing more you need to prove, nothing more you need to prepare. You are already in it. And what happens next depends on how fully you allow yourself to step into this new space without doubt, without hesitation, without holding back. 2 stew. Juiced E. Trust what you feel. Trust what is unfolding. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be. But understand this clearly. Stepping into a new timeline, East Nice, is not just about external change. It is about internal alignment. It is about training your mind to hold the frequency of what you are now ready to receive. Because if your mind remains anchored in old patterns, in scarcity, in doubt, it will try to pull you back into a reality you have already outgrown. That is why this next step matters. If you are truly ready to anchor this shift, to stabilize your mindset so that you can fully receive the wealth, the opportunity, and the abundance that is now aligning with you, then you need to give yourself the right tools to do so. This is exactly why the audiobook Train Your Mind for Wealth, Opportunity, and Abundance has been placed in your path at this moment. This is not just something to listen to, It is something to integrate. It is designed to reshape the way you think, to dissolve limiting patterns, and to align your inner world with the reality that is now opening for you. If you feel that pull toward it, do not ignore it. That is the same intuitive signal that brought you to this message. Trust it, follow it, allow it to guide you deeper into this transformation. You can find the link in the description and in the first pinned comment. And if this message resonated with you, if you felt something shift within you as you listened, take a moment now to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Because this is not just about you. This is about everyone who is being called into this alignment. Stay present, stay aware, and most importantly, stay open. Because what is unfolding now is only the beginning.